Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Keshav, and today I'll be kicking off our presentation for Cyber Group 1. Our topic is the Qantas 2025 data breach, a major cyber incident that exposed the personal information of millions of customers. This case is a strong reminder that even when a company invests heavily in protecting its own system, a single weak link in the supply chain can still put everything at risk. These are my group members. Let's begin with an overview of the incident. In the late June 2025, Qantas was hit by a serious cyber attack, but the hackers didn't break into Qantas' own system. Instead, they targeted one of the airline's third-party customer contact centers. These breach exposed the personal details of about 5.7 million customers. The stolen data include names, emails, addresses, phone numbers, date of birth, and frequent flyer details. In some cases, even home addresses, gender, and meal preferences were taken. Fortunately, no payment card details, passport numbers, or account pins were compromised. The main concern here wasn't immediate money loss, but the increased risk of identity theft, phishing, and target scams. To make matters worse, the attackers actually contacted Qantas, claiming responsibility, which suggests this may have been an extortion attempt. Qantas reported by apologizing publicly, notifying all affected customers, offering identity protection services, and working with the Australian Federal Police. Next slide, please. Now, how did this happen actually? This was a classic example of supply chain breach, also called island hopping. Instead of attacking Qantas directly, the hackers went after a weak link, an outsourced call center that handled customer data. This vendor, reportedly based in Manila, had weaker security controls. The attacker is suspected to have used social engineering, basically tricking staff or stolen credentials to get in. Once inside, they gained higher access and quietly extracted huge amount of customer data. Qantas security team only detected the breach when they noticed usual activities on June 30, and by that time the data had already been taken. Now, Bhavesh will carry forward for assets affected and security goal compromised.
So the breach impacted customers, exposing details such as names, details, and frequent flyer info stored on a third-party platform. Weak vendor processes and poor access control allowed attackers to exploit call center systems and backend database. Network connections between Qantas and vendor lacked proper segmentation. Beyond technical impacts, the incident damaged reputation and raised regulatory risks. From a security standpoint, confidentiality was breached, integrity may have been affected, availability remained intact, and accountability was weakened. The breach happened due to weak security in a third-party call center platform. Attackers targeted the vendor rather than Qantas directly, using an island hopping method. Qantas detected the intrusion when suspicious activity was observed. By the time significant data had been exfiltrated, the tactics align with those of the Scattered Spiders cybercriminal group, which specializes in social engineering, credential theft, and supply chain exploitation, often followed by extortion attempts.
So coming to security issues, this cyber attack didn't hit Qantas directly. It targeted one of their partners, a call center with weaker security. That's a supply chain weakness. So the attack broke confidentiality because personal details of millions of customers were stolen. Things like names, contact information, etc. Even without bank details, this is enough for scammers and identity thieves. So accountability failed because the vendor didn't have proper tracking of who accessed the data. So it was hard to find out what happened. Trusted access was compromised because hackers used stolen passwords and there was no multi factor authentication to stop them. So, integrity was also at risk, even if there is no proof that data was changed. Once someone's inside, you can't be sure. So, finally, supply management was poor. There weren't strict audits or regular checks to make sure the vendor's security matched Qantas' own. Next slide, please. So, coming to analysis of mitigations, to stop this from happening again, we need changes in three areas, mainly technical, organizational, and human. Technically, we can make systems safer with multi-factor authentication, real-time monitoring to spot unusual activity, and network segmentation so a breach in one system doesn't spread. Organizationally, we need to follow the least privilege rule, only giving access that's truly needed and taking it away when it's no longer required. We also need year-round compliance checks, not just annual audits. So on the human side, vendor staff should get regular training on how to spot phishing and social networking attacks. We can test this with stimulated phishing emails and practice drills. And most importantly, we need to build a culture where security is part of everyone work and for everyone in the supply chain. So next part will be explained by Srushti.
So now I'll be talking about mitigation and responding to Qantas data breach. As we know, the attackers targeted Manila-based third-party call center platform. Attackers used voice phishing. So now, weak vendor controls. The third party handling Qantas customer service didn't have strong access limits or proper supply management. The data was also unencrypted, due to which personal details like addresses and date of births weren't encrypted. And so, once accessed, they could be read in plain text. Low vendor security awareness. Vendor staff hadn't been properly trained, so they were more vulnerable to phishing or social engineering that could have helped attackers gain access in the first place. In short, attackers broke in through a poorly protected vendor system, took advantage of weak authentication, all because of both technical and human defenses failed. Now, talking about risk evaluation and impact. High risk due to heavy reliance on third party vendors, increasing exposure to data breaches. Potential impact include reputational damage, Privacy Act fines, and loss of customer trust. Risk treatment and monitoring. To address these risks, we recommend several key actions: enforce ISO IEC 27001 compliance and least privilege access, conduct regular vendor audits, and update risk registers. Next slide, please. So, how do we stop this from happening again? We can do it by using pen testing and cryptography, first penetration testing, and not just once in a while. Internally, we should do every quarter, for vendors every year, and always after a major upgrade. We would test APIs, check token controls, hunt for privilege escalation in CRM systems, and even run phishing stimulation on vendor teams. Now, secondly, strong cryptography. That means AES 256 encryption for data at rest, TLS 1.3 for data in transit, short-lived secure tokens, and cloud key management with strict controls and regular rotation. Now, Chandra will continue.
Here we are going to discuss about the human factors which is involved in the Qantas data breach. The Qantas 2025 data breach was not just a technical failure; it was a human one. The attack began at a third-party call center vendor in Manila, which handled Qantas customer queries. One big weakness was the lack of multi-factor authentication and poor access control at the vendor. While Qantas internal systems were strong, but their partners did not meet the same security standards. Qantas had even been warned about supplier risk days before, but failed to take immediate action. These delays highlight leadership oversight failures and the danger of trusting vendors without verification. Now, next slide, please. We are going to look in the legal and ethical implications. Legally, Qantas may be breached the Australian Privacy Act 1988, particularly which is APP11. The APP11 requires organization to take responsible steps to protect personal information from the misuse or unauthorized access. Even though the breach happened at a third party, Qantas is still responsible for protecting the customer data. The breach exposed around 5.7 million records, which includes names, contact details, date of birth, and membership info. Ethically, Qantas had a duty to ensure all partners met best practice in data protection. The lack of enforceable contracts breach clauses and regular audits shows weak governance. This also breaches the ACS code of ethics, failing to protect the public interest and mitigate harm. While the CEO apologized, rebuilding trust requires deeper reforms in vendor oversight and security governance. Thank you.